There are 5 major extinctions to date, with the first recorded 440 million years ago, and the most recent 66 million years ago. The largest, which was the end of the Permian Extinction 252 million years ago, between the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras, wiping out 90% of all life. The end Permian is estimated to have occurred over 15 million years ago, with the majority of the extinctions occurring in the last 20,000 years. This documentary focuses on the scientific reconstruction of events which caused the mass extinction, along with how some of these events were discovered. There are some conflicting opinions as to how the loss of 90% of life occurred, as some still believe a meteorite, while others still believe the series of natural occurring events on Earth. There is a wide amount of evidence which suggests the series of events included ocean acidification, global warming, and climate change, which is concerning, as the Earth today is experiencing the same effects, except at a much smaller scale. These serious environmental impacts are due to the rapid release of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere as a result of burning fossil fuels, and serious action must be taken to reduce this. A once popular theory of how the extinction occurred was from a giant asteroid. The idea that a large meteor hit Earth, demolishing everything it hit on the way down. Upon impact, a huge wave of heat entered the atmosphere, along with soot blocking off the sun, exposure affecting plant growth and therefore the entire food chain. There was a finding of meteorite fragments and shocked quartz buried in a thin clay zone layer, which appeared to be from the Permian time. Few circumstances are able to break up quartz, as it is extremely stable and so widely known as meteoritic tracer. There was, however, very little presence of iridium, an element rare on Earth, but very abundant in meteorites. Large amounts were found in the clay layer from the extinction of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago, but not from past then. The lack of iridium evidence resulted in many scientists and researchers questioning the asteroid theory and beginning to look at the earthbound presence behind the biggest extinction to date. It was through scientific reconstruction of events, however, which led scientists to believe that the following sequence which caused the Permian extinction. When Pangea formed, it caused higher mountains and deeper oceans, resulting in hotter climate, and inner area of continents became isolated. The major distribution of the ocean floor resulted in increased volcanic activity, leading to the first major event of Permian extinction, the eruption of the Siberian Traps in what is now Russia. The carbon dioxide, which was once trapped in sediment for thousands of years, is now released into the warming of the Earth. Similar to what is happening now with the current ocean acidification problems, also occurred 252 million years ago as a result of the warmer ocean temperatures. CO2 in the atmosphere is absorbed into the ocean at a 1.50 ratio as it reacts with the water and forms both bicarbonate and carbonate ions. Today, carbonate ions are crucial for ocean organisms as they are required in the formation of reef skeletons and shells of oysters, mussels, and urchins. Bicarbonate ions, however, have the opposite effect and proven to dissolve the carbonate structures, releasing stored carbon dioxide back into the ocean, which once again increases CO2 levels. The atmospheric temperature, approximately 1,000 years prior to the extinction, was said to have increased 6 degrees Celsius, the ocean surface temperatures reaching 36 degrees Celsius. Next came the methane burp, the melting of giant gas reservoirs on the seafloor, which released mass amounts of carbon-12, rich methane into the ocean and atmosphere. This furthered the climate increase as methane has 30 times the heat-trapping ability of CO2, causing the greenhouse gas threshold of the typically negative feedback systems to be exceeded and no longer efficient, creating the runaway greenhouse effect. Evidence suggests that parts of the oceans later became anoxic, contributing to the first stage of the extinction, Anoxic conditions often occur due to warming water temperatures, and oxygen is less soluble in higher temperatures. It is hard to say it was a major trigger, however, as the dissolved oxygen levels varied from country to country, with a deep sediment study suggesting the bottom of the deep ocean off Japan was mostly suboxic. These ecosystems with low oxygen levels suggest that organisms requiring large amounts of oxygen would have been unable to survive. Along with this, a lack of oxygen in the ocean destabilized the chemotime, causing a rapid release of hydrogen sulfide from the sea floor into the atmosphere, destroying the ozone layer and leading to acid rain with a pH of 2. This is believed to have been the final phase of the Permian Extinction, as it would have been acidic enough to destroy the majority of plants and animals. These events were able to be determined from piecing together varying discoveries over many years, and is now the scientific reconstruction. Ocean acidification was established by reconstructing a record of seawater pH, and it was during the early extinctions scientists found that the ocean pH was fairly stable, and not until a dramatic decrease in a pH occurred, calcifying organisms such as the descendants of oysters dissolved. This is concerning, as the ocean's pH today has decreased from 8.2 to 8.1 since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in 1760, equating to 28% increased acidity. Studies suggest that the acidity will only further increase as time progresses due to the large amounts of greenhouse gas emissions produced daily. Climate change is the biggest of the fears, as the average global temperature has nearly increased 1 degree Celsius, and even more in the polar regions since 1906. We can already see the effects of climate change, like the melting of ice caps causing a rise in sea levels at an average of 3.3 millimeters a year, and an increase in global temperature, which is a result of habitat loss, along with more frequent and drastic natural disasters such as droughts, wildfires, and floods. Some don't believe in climate change or global warming, however, saying it's a hoax and scare tactic. It is sad that skeptics don't believe the facts which have been presented, such as a decrease in ocean pH or an increase global temperatures, as the lack of care greatly impacts the action taken. Some of the climate change skeptics are in great power, like Donald Trump, the US President, and Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister of Australia. Neither have come out and denied climate change and global warming. However, the acts they take to rectify the problem are political nature and not moral. This impacts the rest of society, as it is not increasing the awareness as to why climate change and global warming and ocean acidification are an actual issue. Limiting greenhouse gas emissions can be achieved by small changes such as limiting plastic packaging waste, as alone contributes to 2,400 pounds of carbon dioxide annually, and planting more trees, as this utilizes the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by converting it to oxygen. Although the Permian extinction was likely caused by massive events like a volcano eruption, it first started out with the small changes, and only took persistence of one change to unravel the careful balance holding all life together. Some of the biggest similarities between the Permian extinction and now are the increasing climates and ocean acidity. If society continues to produce CO2 at the current rate, the biodiversity of life will continue to diminish, with possibly of another mass extinction to come. It may not be in the current generation's lifetime, but instead of a further generations, where they are left cleaning up the mess we have made. This is why controlling and reducing greenhouse gas emissions now is important, as small changes like planting more trees and using less waste materials can be greatly beneficial in the long run to ensure we don't repeat history.